Hello, I'm Dr. Jodi Richardson, and you're listening to Well, Hello Anxiety, a podcast where we end the struggle with anxiety and build our toolkit of practical skills to thrive. Across Australia yesterday, today, tomorrow, and every other day, 2.65 million people are caring for children, other family members, or friends, sometimes and friends, who have a disability, a mental illness, some sort of chronic condition, a terminal illness perhaps, an alcohol or another drug issue, or perhaps even for someone who is frail and aged. These wonderful people are carers. This care is unpaid. It's done mostly by women, and 1 in every 11 carers is under the age of 25. Let's just think about that for a moment. Being a carer can be incredibly fulfilling, but without question, it takes its toll on a carer's mental health and well-being, and not surprisingly, can see carers experiencing burnout. In today's episode, I will be talking with a wonderful woman who can chat to us about what it's like to be a carer, what carer burnout is, strategies to put into place to help steer away from that path, and where to find the support that is right for you. Welcome to another episode of Well, Hello Anxiety. I am Dr. Jodi Richardson. Welcome. If this is the first time you have joined me on the podcast, I am an anxiety and wellbeing speaker, author of Anxious Kids and Anxious Mums. Your host here, of course. I am a wife, a mum of 2, a parent of a 4-legged fur baby who I adore, 3 chickens, and I am also a carer. I am a joint carer with my husband for my beautiful mum-in-law who is 87 years old. I'm joined today by an incredible woman I can't wait to introduce you to. I'm lucky enough to call Kate Johnson a friend. She is a registered counsellor who has supported individuals, families and communities for over 2 decades in a variety of different roles. She was founder and director of Spectrum Journeys, a not-for-profit autism and carer support charity. She's been a legal advocate, has facilitated support groups for new mums and also for mums with newly diagnosed children on the autism spectrum. She is the co-host of the empowering podcast Average Advocate. She's a mum of 4 where her experience of loving and leading one of her children, an amazing neurodiverse young man, makes her the most wonderful guest to talk about all of the beauty and challenges and everything in between of being a carer and how to take really good care of you. So Kate, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be able to have a really good chat with you today on the podcast.
What a thrill to be here. And can I just say for your listeners, this is our 3rd attempt because every other attempt we have done, either one of us has been sick, a dog has run into the studio. And so I like our resilience. It's a thrill to talk about what is my passion, which is supporting carers to thrive.
From the moment I met you, the light in you just radiates from you in every conversation you have. I just love that we've made it and that we're here. And listeners, just for laughs, I'm sitting here recording with a Band-Aid on my nose. It's so funny. Been trying not to laugh because I think this is what must have happened. I played basketball a couple of nights ago and I must have got a scratch. And then I don't tend to look in the mirror a lot. I left the bathroom a half an hour ago and noticed this little spot, gave it a little knock, sort of thinking it was something like a bit of raspberry or something, and took the top off it. Anyway, so there you go. I'm sitting here recording with a Band-Aid on my nose, but that'll give you a good visual.
I love it. You've got a Band-Aid on your nose and I'm looking war-torn after term 3. And so I feel like we're matching.
Absolutely. Oh, gosh. We can be ourselves with each other, and that's what I absolutely love. So, Kate, could you please start by giving us, I say I'm a carer. I am really lucky that I share the care of Pete's mum, who lives on her own. She is living independently but needs a lot of support from us. I'm very lucky that I get to share that with him, and it's not hours and hours each week like it is for some people. For listeners who are carers, to give them some insight into what other carers are experiencing, or for listeners who are not a carer themselves, by the definition of what we're talking about today, could you please give us a bit of an insight? What's a snapshot in a day, a week, a year for a carer look like?
So it obviously varies depending on the care of the person that you're doing and their age and the circumstances. So I'm going to speak, I guess, from personal experience as well as someone who provides specialist carer counselling. And my clients, I guess, it's a full-time job on top of a full-time job. So just dealing with the NDIS alone is a role because it's invoicing, it's organising payments, it's attending therapy, it's strategies at home, it's potentially complex behaviour, it's meeting with schools, problem solving all the time. So I guess when you're a carer, you're always on. There is no downtime mentally. Sometimes physically you might get a short break if you get respite. And so I think of some of my carers who are constantly advocating. They are constantly trying to support their young person to thrive. And sometimes that doesn't look like typical going to school. It doesn't look what other people would say as normal, but for them it works really, really well. And what my carers who I work with describe it as being is always on and never really getting a chance to recalibrate well. Say other parents might be able to. So they might not be able to leave their home, or they might not be able to go away on a holiday. And the things that others take for granted, they might not be able to do. And so I paint that in a really authentic, real, honest way. But they're the carers who I see who are on the edge or currently going through burnout.
Yes. And I recall reading in the statistics, there are new data that will be coming through in the next sort of 6 months when it comes to the statistics around carers, the numbers of people, the ages and the hours. But I recall reading that 50% of carers will devote 20 hours or more a week to their caring responsibilities, and a third of carers will devote 40 hours or more to their caring responsibilities. And so when you said it's like having a full-time job on top of your other
Another
job,
job,
if
yeah.
you are working, because most of us work, it just paints that picture that always on, never getting a break, and no light at the end of the tunnel really for most people. The impact of that, no wonder burnout is a huge challenge for people who are looking after people with this volume of time alone, let alone the challenges that come with the role.
And I guess what we're also looking at is services that are busting at the seams.
Mm,
So there's a wait list, and if you've got carers who are listening, they will probably be sitting on a wait list right now, whether that's a wait list for psychology, speech, occupational therapy, day programs, inpatient, you name it. It feels like I have the analogy of, the duck on a pond,
yeah.
and they look like they're swimming so beautifully, but underneath they're working so hard. And I think I admire my beautiful clients so much because they love well and they love big, but it also comes at a cost. And so, whilst being a carer for some is an amazing experience, for others, there are times of burnout. And it's not, I really, really want to be clear, it's not because they don't love the person enough. It's not because they haven't worked hard enough. It's the cost and the toll of always being on that really just depletes their cup.
Yeah.
And it's not from a lack of anything. It's just life building up, building up, building up, and not having effective tools that work all the time.
That's it. And also this idea that when you are with the person that you care for, and I can't relate to what your experience is and to what the experience is of your clients, but from my point of view, I was recently, because I have my own business, I have a good boss
Mm.
in me and I have flexibility of my own
Yeah.
schedule. I take my mother-in-law to most of her medical appointments. Peter's absolutely amazing, and we
Mm.
share that, but he and I have different kind of work expectations, I suppose. He works for an organisation. And so, just for example, when there was a need for some dental work done, it was 7 appointments.
Yes.
And I remember, so I'd plan my day around the appointment, and without question, she would always say, what are we doing afterwards?
Yeah.
And I'd say, let's go for a coffee. Oh, let's make it lunch. But whilst I knew I was doing something really lovely for us both, connecting and getting her that change of scenery and uh, having that beautiful time together, in my head, I was thinking, oh my goodness, I've got a client waiting for this and I haven't done that. And I was sort of feeling a low level of stress of what else I needed to be doing. And
Mm.
that was detracting from my genuine presence and interaction with her. And that's just a tiny example for someone who doesn't spend a lot of hours a week caring for someone. And I recognized that stress in
Yeah.
just that small amount of time. And it's infinite, the challenges and the time and the connection and the stress and the organization for people who are really caring for people most of every day, isn't it?
Yeah, with complex needs. And I think when I think about the way that we describe it, it's like having for every one thing you do, it's like having 10 plans with multiple steps so that you can pivot to whatever plan you need, depending on environment, social situation, the level of demand, the complex behavior, sickness, whatever it is, the ability to pivot on the spot constantly. It is a massive mental load. And I guess when we talk about burnout, it's a little bit different from other types of burnout because the strategies we use have to be so micro and consistent because it's not like we can step back from our caring role. It's constant, right? So when
Mm,
we talk about burnout, it's similar to that of stress and depression. So it's emotional and physical exhaustion, withdrawal from friends, family, and loved ones sometimes, especially if they don't accept your child
yes.
or understand. And they might go, I've got a client who said to me, oh, my parents always say we're part of a village, but they never actually do anything that's village like.
Mm,
And so platitudes, I guess, loss of interest in activities previously enjoyed because we just don't have the energy to do those. Feeling hopeless or helpless, that's a big one that clients come to me with of going, I don't know what to do next. I feel like the weight of the world is on my shoulders and all I want is the best for my child. Changes in appetite or weight, and sometimes that's stomach issues too to do with digestion because of stress. Changes in sleep patterns, unable to concentrate, getting sick more often, irritability, frustration, and anger towards others. And what we're really describing is a person who is absolutely maxed and they've got everything, they're using every single tool in their hands. However, it is it is not enough at the time to keep them from feeling that. And it's not because they're not working hard enough, it is just the cost, often over time. And
yes.
sometimes with multiple children.
I can only begin to imagine what that's like. And it's so incredibly difficult for us to function and operate when we just don't have anything left in the tank.
When we think about burnout, I want us to hold the perspective of we can't judge a book by its cover. And if we scratch the surface and ask some questions, there's some very big needs for carers in how they cope long term, as well as not only survive but thrive in the short term.
Yes, and that would be such a beautiful place for us to talk about what you can share here today that can make a difference because anyone who's a carer that's listening and hearing about thriving in the experience of it, not eventually, but soon, that's, I think, so important. And so, what sort of insights and little micro moments and strategies can you share that can help carers who are listening?
Look, this is my passionate part, right? Because I totally believe in people thriving and that there are things that we can do in community with others that can be super helpful. So I've got a list I've made that I run through with my clients too. So the first one is professional help. Often we will organise this for our family members or our loved ones and we will go to every one of their appointments, but we will be the last to get help for ourselves because we are just so overloaded. Where do we start? So Carer Gateway is the national support service and that's federally funded. And so everyone in Australia can access Carer Gateway for counselling support, mentoring, respite, some home help, those kind of things to take the pressure off. It's a short-term pit stop, but it just might change a direction in how someone's feeling. So that's one suggestion. Also within people's local councils or states, they do have disability teams as part of their councils. So they will have amazing groups that you can join. I know there's My Time, and in different settings, there's mental health carer groups, there's acute disability groups. And so you want to be tapping into your local council and going, what is in my community where I can join with like-minded people who are not going to judge me, but I can sit comfortably in that safe space, share my story, and be seen for who I am. So that's a really important first step, is what does our scaffolding of community and support look like? Because when we connect with others who walk a similar journey, not the same, but similar, there's a real comfort there. And it's I'm not alone, and somebody understands my unique challenges, and I don't have to justify myself. And so I think that's really important. So that community support and professional help. I've got some other things, and they're so basic. And Jodi, I know you've probably mentioned these for a lot of other different things, but they work beautifully for carers. So what we want to do is, look, I get frustrated when mental health professionals go, you need to do this, 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 and this. And people go, well, what happens if you can't leave the house? Or I'm single and I'm the carer of 3 children who have really complex needs. What does that look like? I think the first thing we can do is schedule joy moments. So what joy moments or mindfulness moments are is within a day, stepping outside for 5 minutes. So you're not leaving your property. I go to the mailbox. I walk down my hill. I laugh at myself because I've got a really funny triangle in my backyard, and it's where I go check my passion fruits, I check my limes, and I check my pot plants. And so I do that. And why I do that is getting outside, getting vitamin D in the sun, slowing down my breathing, taking a minute to regulate myself so that I can step back into a circumstance. Deep breathing, we know, calms the brain down and regulates our central nervous system. So I say to clients, you might not get to do yoga. That's unfortunate. But what you can do is every time you stop at a stop sign or stop at a stoplight, grab your steering wheel and do a minute of deep breathing. So use that as a visual trigger to slow down our systems. Exercise is a big one. And so whether it's a few minutes a day of gentle exercise or parking a bit further away if you can, if you're going to the shops, or moving our bodies releases those good endorphins. And it also gives us a bit of purpose and something to look forward to in a day. Control the scrolling. A lot of my clients, I really love working with neurodiverse families because I am part of a neurodiverse family, but often their Facebook feeds will be full of groups that they're part of. And there's only so much you can do to separate yourself. If you're scrolling all the time and so you're living it and then you're reading it and then you're watching it, and all of a sudden you might feel your body get tense because you don't have a break from it. So putting in some firm boundaries on, I might mute these pages for 30 days and give myself some time to decompress as opposed to constantly having, parent questions in my face. Another one is to take brain breaks. And what that means is, so we might decide, say if we're doing a school run, that on the way home from school, we're going to walk somewhere for 15 minutes and just schedule that brain break in. You don't have to rush in those moments, and that's your dedicated time. And so what we're looking at doing is, because we can't remove ourselves from a carer role, we're looking at putting things in that give our brain some downtime. Because when it's on all the time, it's exhausting. And so they're just some very basic things. I love to talk to people about what they did when they were little. What did you do when you were little that brought you joy? And so a lot of my clients do craft.
Yes, that's what came to mind for me, yes.
Yeah, or they dance. I make earrings because it's a sensory thing for me. So I'm playing with the clay, I'm sculpting something full of colour and joy. And for me, that's my downtime, is when everyone's in bed, I'll spend half an hour playing with clay, because that is not serious. There is no responsibility. I don't have to make a decision. If I make a mistake, I just roll it up and start again. And so I've got clients who dance. They literally put on loud music at home and go for it for 20 minutes. I've got others who, when we go and do a school run, they will find a body of water, because amazingly, water regulates the central nervous system, surprise. And so they will go for a walk for 20 minutes just between their appointments. And so those kind of things are really small, micro things that we can do, and they're not going to fix it. But what we want to do is walk ourselves gently back from the burnout phase by going, what do I need? And all of these things are about needs. They're about being in a community, about resting our brain, about regulating our central nervous system, about controlling what goes in so that we can have a bit of rest, even within the chaos of caring.
And it must be so tempting with an infinite to-do list to use those little breaks, those opportunities to get something else done.
Yeah.
But I understand that some people will be thinking, but I don't have time. But what would you say to the people who are listening who are just like, I just thought 15 minutes is so precious for me when I'm waiting at the school gate to schedule appointments or to do an online shopping order or to arrange somebody else to step in when you know you're going to be at a different appointment. Those tasks are never ending. And what would you say to people who are sitting and thinking, I'd love to, but I can't, I just don't have the time?
What we work through is what's our priorities? What's our priorities? So we go through a now, next, soon list. What is absolutely urgent that we have to do now? Are we confusing that with the next that can probably wait till tomorrow? Or are we banging everything from the soon list that we want to do and making it the same level of importance as our now list? And in that now list, we rarely put ourselves in there.
Oh, I know.
And so that is, I think sometimes that's a parent thing, that's definitely a carer thing because we're giving out so much. And so my question is to flip it and go, if you were to spend 5 minutes, and I know how it is when you're wrangling little ones, doing a school run, trying to work out the quickest way of getting out the school if your child's having a meltdown. I get that. I've been there. And that was my life for a very long time. And so being deliberate then and going, okay, I can't do that at the school gate, but maybe when they're home and if they're settled, I can step into my kitchen for 5 minutes and maybe I will push myself against the bench. So I'm getting all of that, we call it heavy work. So using all of our muscles in our body and breathing for 30 seconds. Maybe that's my moment instead of carving out a big space because I know I'm not going to get it. And so putting ourselves on the now list, and that's a mindset shift of going, I'm actually, for me to care for my family, I need to also make sure that in a day I'm doing something where I feel regulated or I've got a moment to switch my brain off so that it is sustainable for me to be a carer long term. And for parents who say, I can't do this, I get it. I remember, and I use this example on our own podcast, of my brain was so overworked and my child at the time couldn't get himself dressed. And it would take us an hour between getting out of the shower and getting him dressed. And people go, oh, just throw his clothes on. Well, it's really hard when he's stimming. And so when we're stimming, we're jumping up and down, our hands are going, we're anxious about the day. I had all the strategies in place. And I remember one day my toddler was running around. I had a brand new baby. I was trying to get my son changed. And my stress levels went out so much, I nearly blacked out. And so I literally had to lay on the floor and I had to regulate my breathing and I couldn't see properly. And I literally think it was just the stress got so much I nearly passed out. And at that moment, I realised that if I didn't start doing small things for myself, this will be my norm. And so making that decision to go, it might not be big, but I'm still going to put myself on the list of priorities ever so quietly. It's not a big thing. It's a making sure that when I'm driving, I'm taking that time to breathe because we're already driving, right?
Yes, you can't be doing anything else.
You can't be doing anything else. So instead, I'm going to use those visual tools and go, I'm actually going to try and regulate myself right here. Or when I'm in the kitchen, you will often see me pushing on my bench and stretching.
When you say pushing on your bench, can you paint that picture for us?
Oh, absolutely. So say you've got a kitchen bench and you're putting your hands against it and you're moving your legs back. So it's almost like you're trying to push over a wall, right? And so what we're doing with that is we're using our shoulders, our hips and our knees. So all of our big joints, and we're pushing. And if we do that for say 20 seconds and then release and kind of jiggle our body, we will feel a little bit of difference in our body of a release of pressure. And so that's not taking away from doing anything else. That's a putting in something small that helps regulate ourselves. It's the same with exercise. We might have to check the mail anyway, or we might have to put the washing on the line anyway. So why not also throw in a few up and downs of the backyard
Yes.
and just deep breathe as you do it? And it might not seem like much, but when we add these little things together, it might mean that instead of our cup overflowing with anxiety and overwhelm, it's only halfway there.
The picture that comes to mind that we talk about the cup, as I'm hearing you speak and you're talking about the little moments, just pull you a little bit further back. So if we picture a line, that there is a line at which when you were at that line when you nearly blacked out because
Yeah.
of the stress. And so if you were to picture that line in the sand, that every little investment in you as a carer is a little step back away from that line. And
Yes.
sometimes you might be lucky enough to have some respite and to get an opportunity to go for a 45-minute walk along the local beach that takes you 15 minutes to drive to and 15 minutes to come back from, because you've got a bit more time. Although I question whether or not a carer with that amount of spare time would do that for themselves. But the bigger opportunities for, a walk with a friend or a coffee catch up with a partner or something that is cup filling is a steps back from that line. And the
Correct.
further you are away, then you've got more kind of buffer, more of a buffer, haven't you, to that overwhelm, that point of overwhelm. And so the little things do matter.
They do. And it's honestly in practice, because I've done this myself. So it's not something that I'm going, oh, from my professional opinion, you need to do this and don't live it. I literally do this to keep myself sane. Because the thing with care at burnout, it's no one's fault. It's the cost of caring sometimes, but we might go through cycles. And so you might be working with a professional to leave care at burnout, and you might expect it to be a really fast process, and it's not, because healing takes time. But then you might have quite a few things that might not go your way, and we might find ourselves back at that burnout level. And so this is where we have to talk sustainability and go, what are the practices that I am going to invest in myself when I'm doing other things? So it's not like we're going to day spas down at Mornington or going to the movies, because that's not feasible. It's not feasible. When we talk about self-care and well-being, that's not feasible. But building small, consistent practices into our day, I look at it like having a can of lemonade. We start our day and all the bubbles are in the can and they're just sitting there. And then the more we feel anxiety or overwhelm or we get stressed, and we can feel that in our bodies, right? Our hearts go, our eyes might start to twitch, we might feel really tense, our irritability goes up. And so that's where the can is being shaken. Well, what we want to do is we want to keep those bubbles in the can, right? Because when we get to the point where we are at overwhelm, complete overwhelm, that those bubbles have to go somewhere and they explode out of the can and they're a sticky mess. And we can't get those things back in.
Yeah.
And so what we want to do is go, how do we keep the can feeling nice without feeling tight? It doesn't get shaken as much. How do we not get shaken as much? Is we invest in these well-being moments, these joy moments, a bit of the exercise, and we put ourselves on the now list to do small micro things. Not that, and you're not saying you're more important than anyone else, but who's saying you're not important? I think as carers, we give out so much. And my privilege as someone who supports carers, and it is one, is to go, okay, where are you? Who are you? Who are you in this space? I value you. How can you show yourself that you are loved, valued, and worthy? And often it's in the small things, consistently.
Oh, Kate, you are such a gift. You are such a gift. And I can't even begin to understand the challenges that you've been through personally. But for you to be able to, like you say, you've walked in these shoes, you are walking in these shoes, you continue to. You had a meeting at the school this morning before we jumped
Yeah.
on for our podcast. And so I think it makes such an impression when people are really suffering, when people really need help, to hear from someone who has lived it and breathed it. You've experienced what it's like to be at that line, that cup overflowing, that exploding lemonade can. And you know what makes a difference through not only what you've learned as a professional and in what your clients share with you, but in through what you do consistently. And one of the things that I wanted to just add is this idea that with this role as a carer, the anxiety is about anticipation of threat. And so every time the mind goes to the to-do list or to the cancelled appointment because you'd had an appointment and then the practitioner was unwell, and so they're rescheduling, just every little blip, every little thing that has to change. Like you say, you need plans A, B, C, D, E, F, and G to get through what needs to be done. That every time the mind goes to the future and to those circumstances, whether they're changing or whether or not they're set and you're following through with them, that triggers the nervous system to go into fight or flight. And when you can have a moment of mindfulness, a moment of joy, to feel the sun on your face, to go outside and find a beautiful bloom that you haven't noticed before, or just to pick up a leaf and just to study it and examine the beauty of nature in all of its imperfection and bring the moment into the present, that in itself will help to settle the system and to let the brain know, hey, I'm okay, and calm the nervous system so that you then stepping away from that line, you're reducing the shaking. Those mindful moments are, it's a simple idea, but it's quite hard to do. And that consistency builds that strength, doesn't it? That it's like a mindful muscle in our brain. The more we do it in small doses, the better we get at being able to do it and being able to take those moments when they're available to us.
I love that so much because I've had to practice this. And it's a mindset shift of going, I'm actually valued. I'm actually important. And that me just struggling is not going to help anyone. And so what can I do with the minimal time that I've got? My son's whole life before that was really quite challenging for him. And I had to learn not to look too far into the future of what's in my hand today, what is going on here in front of me, how do I regulate myself in that space to cope, and how do I respond to that out of that regulation space, so not reacting to everything, because that is such an easy thing to do as a carer because we're confronted with so much stress to just
Yes.
react. And so instead we go reflect, what's going on here, regulate myself, respond. And in that, keeping myself more in the present. Yes, we do have to factor things ahead. Absolutely we do. But I work with carers and myself of going, I don't know the outcome of this. I can't plan the outcome of this, but what I can control is how I'm going to be right now. This is my choice to be right here, doing this right now with you. I can't say where you're going to be as a result of this. I cannot put myself in that worry space because all I'm doing is shaking that can.
Yeah. You've reminded me of an acronym that was shared with me years ago, actually. And Dr. Chris McCurry has been a guest on this podcast. I must get him back because I just adore him and his work. And the acronym is SOBER, SOBER. And whilst we know that that relates to sobriety, it's not related to that at all, but it's just so happens that S is for stop, O is for observe, B is for breathe, E is for expanding your awareness, and R is for respond. And when you just talked through that particular experience with your son, in that's exactly what you're doing. You're stopping and you're seeing what's in front of you, what's here in front of me now. You're trying to regulate yourself, and breathing is one of the most powerful things that we can do to really regulate ourselves in that moment. And then you're thinking, okay, I can't go into worry. I don't know what the future holds, but in my awareness now, I can interact, be present, and connect and make a difference in this moment. And then you respond. And so,
Absolutely.
yeah, that particular acronym just came to mind because I think it really encapsulates. I often use the metaphor of being swept away in like a current in a river when we're being swept away by our stress and our emotions. And it's hard sometimes to get out of that. But when we can sort of hop out and just have a little look at what's happening,
Yes.
just get a little bit of space. I'm not
Yeah.
saying it's easy. I'm not saying, but the more we practice micro moments of mindfulness when we're not in a high stress state, the more and more we train ourselves to be able to draw on that skill to be able to become a bit more mindful in the moment, to be able to get out of the river and stand on the bank and have a look at what's happening before us, and then respond as best we can with what we have in that moment.
Oh, absolutely. And I think I actually learnt this from you. which I love, in a webinar that you did for our old charity, of putting some space between ourselves and what is going on. And the minute we ask a question, so you call it like a raging river, I call it a snowball, and our fears get bigger as the more they're rolling. But what can pause the snowball is asking a question and plugging our brain in and going, what is happening here? Because the moment we do, we see things from a different perspective. It's not how we feel, it's what we're observing. And then what that does for us is we get to ask the question, who do I need to be in this space?
Yes.
Because often when there is a stressful environment, it is easy, and I have done this more times than I can count, is we match that stress with stress.
Yeah.
So who do I need to be in this space? And you're literally coaching yourself of going, even though I don't feel it, I think I need to be calm and I need to be compassionate and I need to ask, is this what's happening? Or give that young person voice to say what is happening or isn't happening. And I think the other thing is we tie that to perfectionism of having the right response every single time. And I have done it right or wrong. No, you've done what you can with what's in your hand, and you might learn to do it differently, but that comes with practice and making a mistake. If it's a mistake, or doing something different that looks a little bit more slow or a little bit more calm, or it might include a hug instead of words. We all learn differently at different paces, but not to expect perfection in that, because we are still human and we're wonderful in ourselves. We're beautifully unique. And so everyone is going to have a different strategy, but I love the 3 R's, which are the reflect, regulate, and respond, because they're simple, right?
Yes.
Because our brains are overloaded as it is. And the more we practice, the better we become at it, and it becomes just part of our nature. And I think we need to take, as carers, I often say with my clients, we need to have low expectations.
Yes.
We need to, and low expectations doesn't mean not doing things well, but what it means is going, in the moment, I'm not going to get it right all the time. But that doesn't change the fact that I'm their mum, their carer, their partner, their spouse, whatever it is. And it doesn't change that foundation of love underneath that. And so I'm not going to get it right all the time, but I'm going to lower my expectations. I think that's one thing I left off my strategies for carer burnout, is lower the expectations on what you can and can't do. You might go through a season where you can't do it all, and that's okay. So you might, I guess, I think of my beautiful co-host Fee for our podcast, and she fills her freezer with gluten-free celiac meals for when she knows that she's maxed.
Yeah.
Or she will order her groceries online and go and pick them up because she physically just can't. It's not about the time, it's about the mental space of having to make decisions on the spot, and we've become demand avoidant, right? And so she does that, and she'll go, okay, I need to schedule in an hour here just to do my paperwork.
Yeah.
And I need to just factor that in without distraction, and I need to give myself that, then do something physical afterwards to release that pressure. And so she's simplifying things instead of doing it all at the one time, going, okay, what do I need? What do I need now to do this well, and to lower the expectations that I have to do it all myself? How can I outsource? What can I do?
Yes.
Who can I ask for help? Who can I lean on? And so lowering expectations.
Those examples are gold. Can you share a few others with us of just the ways people kind of compassionately cut corners?
Yeah, absolutely. I think those ones are really key because they're easy. Cutting corners means I've got a client who's similar to me, is I love a clean floor.
Yeah.
And so going, what is it in my house that I need to do this week? And what is it that I can let go? So instead of vacuuming every single day, I'm going to vacuum twice this week. What is it that I can do to make school pickups easier? So instead of stressing about food options, especially when you've got a sensory child, is buying something in bulk, freezing it, grabbing it from the freezer, giving them to it at school run time. And so you're not coming home having to think about that. So it's a little bit of thought of going, okay, what do I need? How do I do this in bulk? So I can just grab and go. So we're removing the demand in the week. It might be a bit more demanding on the weekend when we're doing it, but the stress goes down in the week. Who can I ask for help if we need an emergency meal? I've got one client who her friend helps her book appointments when she's overwhelmed.
Yes.
And you go, okay, who can I ask for help on this? Or instead of, I guess, how do we simplify, of going, I need to find this, and this for my child. I don't know where to start. well, is there a local online support group that of parents who share all this, so you don't have to do it all yourself? You just tap in and go, hey guys, I need a new speech therapist who focuses on nonverbal
Yes.
clients and assisted communication. Instead of you doing all that yourself, you ask and lean on the collective wisdom of others.
Yeah.
So they're those kind of things. I think they're simple daily things. I focus a lot around food because for us, and I guess for a lot of carers, it's not necessarily the big things that throw you, it's the accumulation of the small. And so going, okay, we are going to have a roast chicken rolls and potato jams tonight. And that might not be the best, most nutritious meal, but food is food. And if that means that I can be present with my child who needs me more, then that is okay. And so getting used to saying that is okay in this season.
Oh, yes, baked beans on toast. That is an
Yes.
entirely underrated meal in my opinion, and it's having compassion for yourself, and
Yes.
I've picked up on a thread that you've woven here around carers is about carers valuing themselves, knowing
Yes.
that they're
Yeah.
important, and knowing that these decisions are there to be made on the days that you've got all the bandwidth and you want to steam all the veggies and cook whatever it is that you'd really love to be able to put on a plate for your family that evening, then you do it. And other days it's toasted cheese sandwiches and a tin of tomato soup, or it's baked beans on toast, or it's scrambled eggs on toast, or it's potato gems, a roast chook and fresh rolls. And that is okay. And
That's okay.
yeah, and in doing that, I think it shows other people that it's okay to not always be kicking all the goals, because you've got 4 children, you've got 1 neurodiverse child, you've got 3 other children who are looking and observing how you're handling things as well. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
for you to cut yourself a break gives them permission to cut themselves a break as
Oh,
well.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
before we go, I want to find out, in terms of additional support, I know that it's something that you're really passionate about, helping people to understand more about. What could you say to our listeners today about that before we finish up?
Okay, so you are never not bad enough, if you like. Your family situation is never not bad enough for support. And what I say that too is because I've got clients who wait 10 years to come and see a counsellor until they hit breaking point. You don't need to be at breaking point to get support. And so I would encourage every listener, or if you're a therapist who are working with carers, to refer to Carer Gateway or to plug them into the carer peak body in your state. So I live in Victoria. We've got Carers Victoria. They've got advocates there who can, or advice line who can assist. Connect with your local council, because they will have networks everywhere that you don't have the energy to tap into by yourself, but they can give guidance. And also, if you have a support group or a parent group or a carer group in your community or in your state that you can access online, absolutely do that, because isolation can be a really big thing. And so what we want to do is we want to make sure that you have community, you can be a valued part of community and be validated for who you are. So I think when we look at support, we're looking at that local support of being involved in a community. We're looking at reaching out to your council, your state peak body and Carer Gateway, because that's where the funding sits.
Yes.
That's where the funding sits. And so we want you, it doesn't matter if you are going through something mild or you are experiencing great challenge, the support is there. The support is there. But my top tip when you access support is there is trauma in relaying your story every single time and telling your story, because you are basically putting everything out there, and that comes at a cost, especially if it's difficult. So you might like to, and this is what I tell my clients, is to write down all of your key points one day when you're not feeling that bad. When you're not feeling overwhelmed, go, what do we need and what is our story of why we need to access this support? And then you will have those dot points. So when you are on the phone being assessed for support or reaching out to a local service, you've got it all in front of you. And so you're reading off that sheet as opposed to having to manufacture all that over and over again. It holds a different power rate and a different impact rate. And so you're sharing what's off a page, you're not sharing the deep parts of your story over and over. So having that prepared, and then you carry that wherever you go. This is our family situation. This is why we need extra support.
And there may even be circumstances where you can hand the piece of paper over for the person to read it themselves.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But having that as a resource for your own family means that the cost of having to advocate constantly for support, because most carers will know what that feels like, it's just a little bit reduced.
Yeah. Oh, Kate, and your podcast, can you tell us about you, how listeners can connect with you, work with you, and your podcast, your brilliant newish podcast, Average Advocate,
Yes.
because that's ongoing, readily available support for anybody. If you're listening to this podcast, you know how to access a podcast. And if you are listening, I just want to say this, if you know someone who is a carer, please teach them. Take a few moments just to set them up to be able to listen to Average Advocate, because they will feel seen, heard, valued, understood. And the gold that Kate has shared with us today is just a snippet of her incredible experience and support that she can offer. So for her and Fee to have this podcast available, please support anyone you know who doesn't know how to access a podcast to get that in their ears, because that will be a really brilliant partner for them as they go on this journey. So tell us a bit more about you, Kate, please, and about the podcast.
So I have a beautiful friend called Fee, and where our circumstances are so different to each other, but we do both have neurodiverse young people. And I can't speak highly enough of Fiona. She is so beautiful. And what I guess the reason I've created this podcast is because we want to get advocacy support out there. Because often there are so many myths around how to advocate. We slam down doors and we get what we need, but there's better ways. Sometimes we need to do that, but other times there's different ways. And also how we care for ourselves as we advocate for others and advocate for ourselves. And so our podcast, we've only done 5 episodes so far. 2 are on carer burnout, and they are going gangbusters. But we interview other women, because we believe in, it's not necessarily all for carers, it's just about advocacy, where women's voices are being raised to create change, whether it's in their lives, in their communities, and we're amplifying those women's voices, because often they don't attract attention when we're advocating in a school for change. Or for Fee and I, we've done so many years of advocacy across different channels, I guess, and learning from our mistakes and our wins and just authentic conversation. And so that's what we do. That's why we do Average Advocate. And I have a counselling practice in Melbourne, or in Mooroolbark. Try and say that fast. No one can ever say it. And I support clients on Zoom and in person. And a lot of my clients are neurodiverse themselves, and they're carers. And so it's a real privilege to be trusted in that space. And so I have my own practice. I've just hired Pete, a male counsellor, and we're just having Tanya about to start as an art therapist. So I'm trying to amplify wellbeing the best way I can. So yeah, it's a bit of fun, and it's really hard work. Anyone who's a therapist knows that you put a lot of heart and soul into it, but particularly passionate about the podcast, because I know what it is to feel by myself and feel like I'm wading like that duck. And so to have, I'm very bubbly, Fee's amazing, and it just feels like we're having a chat with a friend over a drink.
About a topic you both had a lot of experience in and are both very passionate about.
Yeah, and we're very grassroots. So one of our big things is we're not going to have anyone famous on there who's got all the resources and all the education. We just want the average, beautiful. When I say average, it's not spectacular, not beautiful, all those things. It's they are beautiful, unique, spectacular for who they are.
Yes.
In the everyday, I can relate to you because I've been there type way, and not, oh yes, we have nannies, we have support workers, we have the biggest package ever because we know people. It's the very opposite.
It's very, very special, Kate, what you and Fee are doing, and to have had an opportunity to give you a platform here as well to share on this podcast and to share what you are just made for, what you're just born for. And I'm sure there are times in your life where you thought, what is all this for? This is so hard. But it's the classic, we make our work from our wounds. And I think those of us that come to our work with a pure heart and just this drive to really make change, you say you're all about amplifying wellbeing the best way you know how. Well, you know how, my friend. And thank you for sharing today some of your story and so much of your strategies, ideas, insights, and stories to help listeners today really relate and know what they can do next to support themselves or somebody that they know that's a carer as well. So thank you again.
Oh, thank you for having me. You know how much I love you. and it's such a privilege. Thank you for giving me space on your podcast. I appreciate it.
It's an absolute joy. Honestly, it's just been wonderful. So thank you again, Kate. Thank you again. And thank you, listeners. Thank you for sharing. And I really just invite you to share this episode and connect people with Kate's wonderful work, because there are, as I said at the beginning, 2.65 million carers. It's 11% of the community. And that's a lot of people who are quietly going about their business, and many are struggling. So please share this episode with someone who you think it could help, and take care of you. Thank you for being here with me again for another episode, and I will see you back here again next week. Okay, bye. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's episode. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and leave a review. To keep the conversation going, I'd love you to join me over on Instagram. You'll find me at Dr. Jodi Richardson. Also, if you'd like a copy of my free 5-day mini email course, Calm Your Anxious Brain, then jump over to my website, drjodirichardson.com, and you can sign up down the bottom. I've really enjoyed having your company. Thanks so much. See you next time.